to August Hammered. On today's video will be a short topic about Age of Sigmar 3.0 or 3rd edition being released. It was pretty cool that the fact they announced it on the 6th day of the Warhammer Fest, and it's pretty exciting. They did announce a bunch of things. I can come up with a billion theories that I had already thought about what the next faction will be. Here we see the new introductions of the new Stormcast Eternals. If you hadn't caught up about it, they didn't announce this. This will be the cover art in itself, and it's going to be amazing compared to the 2nd edition. It's really much a level up, and that is quite amazing. We're going to get to meet the Thunderstrike armor as well. They did announce that it's going to take mainly part in the Ram of Gur, which is the Ram of the Beast, if you don't know much about it. And finally we're gonna get to learn about it. Here we have some amazing artwork that they showed up, and it's pretty amazing. Here, just a badass. This is what the epitome of what you think about a badass Stormcast Eternal would look like. This is exactly it, and it's just epic. Here, love it. This is just amazing. I gotta have this. If they had made this the pose for this one, for this model, would have been quite epic, you know, to be able to color that. Here we have another short artwork that they showed, and this is what I picture the shrines that stop the Stormcast Eternals from going back to Azir looking like. This, as they mentioned in the live stream, will be basically the Order factions trying to take back everything that has been taken by the Ram of by the Chaos Forces, which is going to be pretty cool. At the fact that finally we get to learn that, because since the beginning we know that Chaos won, and we would like to see more stuff involving Chaos. But they did also mention in the live stream that this is going to be the Age of Beasts, because as we have Kragnos that came back, and he is the god of destruction, and I am 100% sure that the opposing faction against the Stormcast Eternals will be the destruction. I will not be playing any other videos. This is just a small recap as to what they announced, but this is pretty amazing. I did have a little time to look at this, the map, or just analyze it a little bit, because they said that they were gonna do some Easter eggs on it, or just eagle eye stuff that you will get to see. Here you can see the little steps from a giant beast. Excelsis, we know for a fact that Gordrak is coming from the east attacking to Excelsis, and they did say that Kragnos is already there laying siege to it, and it's pretty interesting. We also know that Beastgrave is just right here, and that comes to my theory about who will be in the next the opposing faction of 3rd edition, and my theory is that it's going to be the Silent People. If you don't know much about the Silent People, this is what they say that they look like. They look like insectoids, like humanoid insectoids. They talk about they're just a mysterious faction from the Ram of Gur from ancient times, and they've went into some sort of hibernation and then been slowly waking up because of rumblings of the mountain of what's happening in Beastgrave and stuff like that. And maybe with the awakening of Kragnos, maybe they awaken, and at the very end they do show a little video for the next thing. But for now I'll keep going. They announced this amazing model for Indrasta, the Celestial Spear, which is basically on the level of Celestial Prime, they said, and that is pretty amazing. She's going to unify. She's going not really unify, but she's going to be playable in every single order faction, which is amazing. They're sticking to the alliances, just like how Kragnos is playable in all the destruction factions. Here will be the same thing with her. And also they did mention some interesting tidbits, that the fact that she's been reforged so many times, that's actually as we know that when Stormcats die and they get reforged, they start to lose part of themselves, and that is a very interesting part of the lore, and they're sticking with this, and the fact that some of the Stormcast Eternals that are with her, see how just she's becoming so inhuman at the fact that she's basically just there to kill, that they're thinking, there's something iffy about this one. But the fact that she's from Mordor and she's a very respectable leader, they really keep their mouth shut more than likely. But they are sensing that she's getting a little bit too, I want to say, primal. But they're tying in everything to the land of Gur, and here in the announcement they announced that this would play some part of it, at the fact that you can see that it's very swampy, and since in the land of Gur, it's for the beast. That's where I think the next faction, they did mention that it's gonna be in the swamps, and here you can tell that they are keeping with this theme of swamps and stuff, because they did mention that the base looks very swampy. I did notice that there's like a weird little squirrel here. Could be a little Easter egg or something, I don't know, maybe it's just there just for the heck of it. But the model in itself, it is amazing. It is just beauty incarnate. For me, that I love the painting side of the hobby, this is gonna be quite epic to paint it. Obviously, hopefully she does come with the box, since they did announce it. Hopefully she does come with the starter box of 3rd edition, but even if she doesn't, it is gonna be quite epic to paint this. It's gonna be just fun just doing this, and also showing some representation with the female side of the Stormcast is quite amazing. And then we get to see basically the Primaries of Age of Sigmar, because that's what they are. Basically reminds me of 9th edition Primaries from 40k, but this is what they are. They did the exact same thing. Maybe they're gonna be a little bit taller, who knows, but they are slimming them down, and that is pretty cool. It makes them look more realistic. It looks like a more form-fitted factor, and it looks quite amazing. I dig the gladiatorial look. It is just amazing. It is gonna be quite nice to paint these, and even though it's monopose, it quite looks pretty cool. Even though I would go more for, the action, kind of like this, the action looking poses, but it's still pretty cool. And here we get to see that they are gonna stick around with the whole female is going to have a slimmer body than the male counterpart. So if you're trying to do maybe like since they are showing that they will be helmetless heads in the kit, hopefully they do like the Cadian soldiers in 40k. Maybe there's like 40, not really 40, maybe like 15 to 20 different heads, so you can customize it. But if you decide to put a female head in a male looking body, if you happen to like this pose, or hopefully the female bodies, they'll come with the same pose, it's gonna look quite funky. But I mean, I guess just a style choice I decided to go for, but I still dig it. It's gonna be quite a blast to paint these. Here they're showing off some of the examples of how they're gonna look with some of the, like here, the Helden Hammer and the Knights Excelsior, that I think are gonna take a part in the story, because Excelsior is being sieged by Cracknells. Here we have a paladin on itself. I wasn't a big fan of the paladins before, but here we have this guy, and honestly quite decent. I know they show off here's one of the images. I think this looked quite better, but I know it's pretty hard to replicate the artwork to the model in itself. I don't know, the model itself looks too chunky for me. It looks too chunky. I don't know, there's something that bothers me. Maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the way they colored it, but it looks too chunky. I don't know, but it's still pretty interesting. They're called the Vindicators, the Stormcast Vindicators, so it's gonna be quite cool. I mean, like I said, it's basically Primaries of Age of Sigmar, And the the interesting tidbit about the new armor, and they did make it into something lore, which is pretty cool, is the fact in lore in the last book of Broken Realms that came out in Bellacore, spoiler alert, they did announce that Grugny is back. He was there, and that's also another interesting that is happening with Grugny in itself, is the fact that maybe he came back because we're gonna get, I don't know, a unified dwarf kind of thing, maybe in third edition, like a dwarf faction, or we're gonna have maybe like a return to that old fantasy dwarves. I know we have the dispossessed, but I don't know. I know some people are clamoring for that old fantasy vibe. But with Grugny back, I know in Bellacore he's kind of disappointed at the fact that the Caradon overlords think more about money than glory and like the old or Dordans. But he did come back, and he did help Sigmar, as we know here, and he built this new armor style. And it's called the Thunderstrike armor, just like how the the new hosts are called Thunderstrike. It's called the Thunderstrike because in Bellacore we know that there's huge storm going on, and it's preventing the falling Stormcast Eternals to returning to Azir. So what Grugny, apparently what he did with these on the lore side, is that he made them be like so powerful, and that they kind of explode, and they're able to pierce through that cloud, so they return to Azir. Even though here that it says that they can go back safely to Azir, it's not quite true, because also in on the live stream, he did mention at the fact that it's not a 100%. Some of them do go back, some of them are not able to go back. So now, even though death is possible for the Stormcast Eternals, they still can be reforged. I know some people like the fact that they can still be reforged, and then you get that whole side, like for example with Indrasta, that she's losing herself. I know some people like that about the Stormcast Eternals, but there's this tension at the fact that they can be killed. So there's that tension. But that battle of attrition is now full on, and now they're innovating with the whole armor, and now has a story as to why that armor exists, which is pretty cool. But we'll see what happens with this in third edition, what they're adding to this whole lore. And also I'm excited to see what other units they're adding, because here we only get to see the spears, like the spear wielding ones, and I'm digging this whole gladiatorial. As I said, it's pretty amazing, but I would like to see, the sword ones, the hammer ones. I would like to see the bowman, stuff like that, how the riders are gonna look. It's gonna look quite epic. Plus also it's gonna be interesting to see how this dynamic of second edition armor and third edition armor are gonna look like. We're gonna see the whole difference between the chunky ones and the skinny ones. Thunderstrike armor and second edition armor. Lore wise, how is that gonna interact? Because you are gonna have these Thunderstrike armor ones. Are they gonna think they're more superior to their counterparts who are still wearing the old armor? Lore wise is gonna be pretty interesting. It's cool at the fact that they're doing this. And like I said, I dig it. I dig that. This is amazing. This is, creme de la creme. It's pretty amazing. But I'm also excited as to what's happening with the mysterious side. The opposing side. The opposing side here, they do mention that it is coming from the swamps, and here the little rhyme it's a short rhyme, and here I won't show it, I won't play it, so you can able to enjoy all of this by yourself, knowing it for the first time. But here you can see what looks to be eyes, and that's what makes me think it's the silent people, because as you can see they have multiple eyes. It's not just one. So maybe it could be them, maybe it could be the silent people, insectoids. When you think of swamps, you think of lizards, crocodiles. Since I come from Texas, East Texas, and Louisiana, there's like crocodiles and stuff. But then you also think of insects, all those things, amphibians, frogs, and things like that. But it is in Gur, so I'm thinking it is monster related. So that's why I think it's Silent People, because they do say that it's insectoids. And also in the Warhammer community, when they first announced the Cracknows, let me go ahead and pull it up. On the first day when they announced Cracknows, they did mention that where is it? Here it is. They did mention that someone has been placing these little effigies all around.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the first day of Warhammer Fest 2021 online. I am Eddie.
Sorry about that. So they did mention that there was this effigies being placed all around the realms of Gur and stuff, and I see this as Kragnos up here, but this last one is kind of mysterious to me as to what it could be. It looks quite different than what it is. I mean, it could be some sort of mutated orcs, or it could be some insectoid stuff. So I'm pretty excited as to what's happening with 3rd edition, and that is what I think is going to be announced. But we'll see what is announced. And so, guys, let me go ahead and know what you think in the comments below about 3rd edition. Are you excited? What do you think is going to be new? What do you think they're going to add? Who do you think the opposing side is? Do you think I'm right that maybe it is the Silent People? Are you excited to know what's coming with the 3rd edition release? What's going to be the starter set? What are going to be the rules? So, yeah. Thanks for watching, and remember, not anything is what it seems in the realm of Oog.